Giants.
So we have Bears Packers this weekend again, part 2, and I do not know what or how to feel about it.
Well, they're not playing in Gary, Indiana quite yet, so there's always a bright side.
Soon enough.
There's always a bright side.
That's a bluff, dude. They're not actually moving.
Literally. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Shot of Sports podcast. Grab a drink, a snack. This is your weekly dose of sports, where we'll break down and do a deep dive of the world of sports. Whether you're a casual fan or a diehard, we're here to bring you the latest, the best analysis, and the hottest takes. Subscribe, share, even comment. We appreciate all the feedback. Hit the like button for us and tap the notification bell on the right so you'll be notified whenever we drop, so you won't miss one. Today we got on the show, we got Drew Best, we got our usual Sam Strash, and then we have a dual screen together with Chris and Nolan. You know, they decided to hop on together.
We got our little work holiday party in
Christmas
about an hour.
party calls.
Yeah, we had a Christmas party yesterday. It was I'm not gonna say nothing about it.
Besties for the resties.
We had a Christmas party yesterday, and I'm not gonna say much about it because I don't want to get fired.
That's so tough.
But how was y'all's weekend? How are you all doing?
That's all right.
Well, it's been a long while since the weekend, though.
Yeah,
Good.
they didn't have the Tuesday
Looking
show,
forward to
sadly.
the next one already.
I was gonna say Nolan's on his weekend once 1:30 hits.
Hell yeah.
I got 2 more days.
Yeah, we didn't have a Tuesday show, so I mean, welcome. So we're gonna jump right into our first topic, which is Rams Seahawks Thursday night football. So this is probably the best, Thursday night football game we've had in a long time. We can obviously say that this is probably going to be up for whoever wins this game. I think might win the division. Is that fair to say?
I think they will win the division. I don't know if it's a might anymore.
The other person would have to go around and win 2 in a row.
Yeah,
there's your NFC playoff picture.
Well, there's a possibility if they go and lose the next 2 and they win. So there's definitely a strong chance that they get the division lead and possibly even the conference lead that they could hold on to. But
I
should be
think
interesting.
the Rams still have a shot to win the division if the Seahawks win tonight, because you look at the schedule for the Rams.
Yeah,
so much easier than the Seahawks schedule coming up. The Seahawks got 2 potential playoff teams for the last 2 weeks in the Panthers and the Niners, compared to the Rams, who got the Falcons and the Cardinals, who both suck. So the Rams, I mean, I don't think that their chances at the division or the first round bye are out by any means if they lose today. But Seattle, I think Seattle, this is a must-win game if they want that 1 seed.
That's fair.
Well,
to
yeah,
say.
of course. LA has the tiebreaker, of course. So yeah, this is definitely win or die mode for the Seahawks tonight. And it's not necessarily die mode, but the NFC, there's going to be maybe 2 10-win teams in the NFC that miss the playoffs this year, which is ridiculous to say. But that's just the reality of the situation. So, and the Seahawks being a wild card team right now, with 2 really talented squads right behind them in the Niners and the Packers, and you have the Panthers on the outside looking in. There's a couple other teams in the mix. It's not outlandish to suggest that Seattle must win this game, and they need to take advantage of the fact that Devontae Adams probably is not suiting up tonight. He's been dealing with that hamstring injury. It's been nagging him for a couple weeks now, to the point where he didn't participate in the Rams' only physical practice this week. So the Rams being down a receiver gives Seattle's defense, which is already really good, an even bigger step above the Rams.
Yeah, I think Sam about nailed that. I would say Seattle's under more pressure in this game than the Rams for sure. Yeah. Like you said, no Devontae. And there's the narrative going around still that Sam Darnold can't perform in big games. He's struggled against the Rams all 3 times he's played against them the last 2 years. They lost both times with Minnesota, threw 4 interceptions the first time they played. there's this narrative going around that he can't really play in big games. I think tonight he has a lot to prove, and he has a great opportunity to show that he can be a legit quarterback that can lead a team to a Super Bowl.
I think the Rams, though, too, like they are having a bunch of travel concerns, and like they weren't even there yesterday, and they've been held up. I think Sean McVay's sick. They said he's like traveling on a separate plane than the team. So like I don't
team plane too.
It wouldn't surprise me if the
like,
Rams come out and
failures.
Not right. It, you know, with all they've had to deal with. I mean, it's tough to get on a plane and then play a football game like a little over 24 hours later.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that you have to remember was this was an incredibly close game the last time they played. It was 21-19 in favor of the Rams. They got outplayed for the most part by Seattle, 414 total yards for Seattle as opposed to just under 250 for LA. Biggest key was turnovers. They just weren't able to get in the end zone, and they weren't able to hold on to the ball when they were making these drives. So that's going to be the biggest difference there. I think that with Seattle being at home, with the not necessarily the healthiest, with as long as they eliminate those turnovers, this should be a pretty easy win for them. I would take this as more of like a, I don't know if it's going to be high scoring because I feel like it's going to be very, very much a defensive game. I would go something along the lines of like 23-21.
Oh, I have 20-13, and I think Seattle wins this one. Simply because it's in the 12th man. Mm-hmm. They have some pressure on them. I think that they take the cake in this one, especially going up against the Rams offense that's a little banged up. So 20-13 is my official prediction. The lines for tonight, though, according to Vegas, have Seattle as 1.5-point favorites, and I have them winning by 7. The over/under total is 42.5. So I'm going pretty low scoring game here, considering what Vegas has to offer.
I think I went just on the over on both of my takes.
I'm gonna go 23-13 Seattle because I just feel like Devontae Adams is such a huge loss, and getting Nacua open, right? That now they can just send two at Nacua, and hopefully somebody else beats them, right? So it's like having that loss of Devontae really shifts things. I think it shifts 10 points is the reason why I feel like the Rams would take 23-13. But looking at this playoff picture, this graphic, it's crazy how the NFC North is, because the Bears, if they lose 2 out of the 3, they can be out of the playoffs, and they're the 2 seed right now.
When that speaks to how deep the NFC is, too. You see, Detroit's not even on here. Detroit is most definitely a playoff caliber team. At the end of the day, a lot of what it comes down to for them is strength of schedule. They've just had a gauntlet of a season in terms of who they've had to play against. Meanwhile, a team like San Francisco, I think head-to-head, the Lions probably beat the Niners, but the Niners are probably going to get in over them just because of who they played all year.
Well, and it takes, the fact that the Niners were hurt all last season. They get a third-place schedule compared to the Lions, who get the first-place schedule. But, I mean, I think that, I don't know. I really hope that Carolina gets in as the NFC South champion. I think that they're just, at least right now, so much better than the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have played so bad, like in the past, 5-6 weeks. They've been on such a slide, and even when they've won games, it hasn't looked pretty. I like Carolina. I think that Carolina team could be dangerous, not like Super Bowl bound, but like they could win a playoff game. I think I think people kind of undersell them, but obviously they'd be going up against Seattle. But
straight up, Tampa Bay does not deserve to be there this year. I mean, all the preseason hype. I had Baker Mayfield as my NFL. Obviously,
I think we might have lost him.
Yeah.
But to go off that, Tampa Bay's been very kind of mundane these last few weeks, especially. Like, it's kind of been vanilla a little bit. There's not a lot really going one way or the other. They've been struggling. They just lost to an Atlanta team who's on their backup quarterback and really has nothing to play for. They've seemed checked out most of the season. They just got blown out by Seattle. Like, it's a bad look. I think Carolina, just because of how random they are this year, could be a lot more fun as an option because there's a chance that they do something special. And with Tampa Bay, it's just going to be whoever goes in there gets they belt ass Tampa Bay, and it's an easy
Where
NFC
did you
West
guys
matchup.
What was you saying?
where did you guys
Chad?
lose me at? Yeah. Because I was talking about like MVP, like
You
Baker
just said
Mayfield as
that Baker was your MVP favorite at the beginning.
yeah.
of the year.
So I had Baker as my MVP going into the season, and it's going to end up being one of Stafford, Allen, even Jordan Love. If the Packers beat the Bears again this week, I could see Jordan Love entering the conversation. He's been having a terrific season. Rest assured, like lest we acknowledge the fact that Green Bay Packers fans have wanted his and LaFleur's head at different points this year, but Jordan Love's been having a phenomenal season. I just with all the hype that Tampa Bay had going into this year about their receiving core going to be so deep. Their offense was supposed to be one of the best in football. Todd Bowles is a great head coach, especially on the defensive side of things. That Tampa Bay was going to end up being like possibly vying for the 1 seed in the NFC, and then we get this. We get them losing at home in prime time to Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons, who were not in the playoff. They were eliminated from the playoffs going into last week. They're playing for nothing right now. They want to lose. They want to get a higher draft pick.
Actually,
And
they
you lose
don't
to
because
them
the Rams
on
have their
prime time.
pick, but yeah.
Well, disregard then. But they, regardless of the point, regardless of that, the point is that Tampa Bay just completely flubbed a national primetime football game to a team that's not even in the playoff picture anymore. This team does not deserve to be in the playoffs. They deserve to be what you would consider a lottery pick, I guess, or in NBA terms. They should not be a playoff team this year.
Todd
here's
Bowles
the
should be
thing.
fired this year. I really don't think that there's a couple head coaches. I think Stefanski should be gone. I think Bowles should be gone, and Mike McDaniel should be gone. Those are
Mike McDaniel especially.
those
Holy
are like
cow.
my 3 locks. But Bowles, he's just been. He hasn't been what this team needs. And even last year, they were the 3 seed and they lose in the first round of the playoffs. What has Todd Bowles done with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that warrants him to keep his job as a head coach? Nothing.
With all the
When the
talent
unit
on that
that's
roster.
supposed to be good isn't. His defense is not good. They've been gashed repeatedly. They lost to the Saints a couple weeks, or not last week, but the week before that.
Hey, Tyler Shuck is pretty good.
I mean, I'm not saying that isn't
Tyler
true, but
Shuck.
overall, Tampa Bay's roster is much more talented. And must we not forget, they were very close to losing to the Jets earlier this season at home too. I think the warning sign should have been there after that game, but they kept eking out wins, and nobody really thought too much because their record was pretty on paper, but they were struggling in some of those games. And we've seen the other side of that now. And like we've been saying this whole time, I'd much rather have Carolina in there because you don't know what you're going to get with them week in and week out. And that's a lot more fun than what Tampa Bay's offering.
Here comes
What are
Drew's
your
crazy
most-
hot take for the week. I think either Tampa Bay or Carolina would win their first round matchup against one of either LA or Seattle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wouldn't it be the most NFL thing ever if the Buccaneers got into the playoffs and beat Seattle? It reminds me of way back, like in that Packers playoff run when it was the Seattle barely snuck in and was playing the Saints and everybody was like, oh, the Saints are gonna destroy the Seattle, and then Marshawn Lynch went beast mode and had the beast quake and Seattle won. Only they lost to the Bears the next week, but that would be the most NFL thing ever if Tampa Bay or Carolina beat a Seattle or LA.
I think this is like a recipe for Baker Mayfield to have one of his penned 375 passing yard, 4 touchdown games. I feel like that's what we could get. I don't know if we do get it. Obviously, it hasn't looked like that in the past, say, 10 games, but I think it's possible. He was on an MVP trajectory before his bye week.
Yeah, I will say Tampa Bay has the talent to beat a Seattle or LA compared to a Carolina. Obviously Tampa Bay has way more talent on the offensive side of the ball. And if I was actually picking somebody, I want Carolina in there because they're fun and they can beat good teams. But Tampa Bay, I would trust Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Ibuka, Bucky.
They're getting their
way more than I would
receiving
trust
quarterback.
Bryce Young and Jalen Coker and Ted McMillan.
They played half their season without Bucky Irving and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I
yeah.
think you need to give those guys time.
Mm-hmm. You know,
I mean,
if this is going to
If
be
they get
one of
in, they're going to
Baker's,
be good.
there's going to be one of
defense-
Baker's 400-yard games and 5 touchdowns. Could they all go to Mike Evans? We need to preserve that 1,000 yards per season streak.
Yeah.
Get him
We have to.
550 yards in
The
one
playoffs
game.
don't count. He's got to get on.
And I'm a Mike Evans fantasy owner too, and in the playoffs, so having Mike Evans catch literally everything, excuse me, would be awesome.
So there we go. We have a Week 16 schedule to look at. It's a pretty good schedule, I'd say. Pretty good schedule.
I mean, this is what all those terrible slates were for in weeks 4 and 7 or whatever else, so that we can set up good slates in week 16, week 17, and week 18 when the games really mean something. Bears-Packers is obviously going to be a great game. Even with all the injuries on both sides, it should still make for a fun football game. Looking at this, Pittsburgh, Detroit, I think that could be an underrated fun game if Pittsburgh's offense keeps playing how they did on Monday nights. Yeah, there's a couple good games here. Obviously, Thursday night we talked about already. Old Man Rivers against the 49ers could be entertaining.
I like that one. I
And
think
that
one's a good game.
Ravens versus Patriots game is going to feed a lot of people.
That's a
I mean, we
good
need to see
opportunity
Lamar
for the
play
Ravens.
Lamar needs to play at a better level than he's been playing. He's not been good enough for them to get the lead in that division and one of the worst divisions in football this year. So I want to see something.
Cowboys, Chargers.
Also because he's on my fantasy team and I need it for the playoffs.
This is a
Also,
must-win game for the Ravens. Every game from here on out is must-win for the Ravens. They got the Patriots, they got the Packers, and they got the Steelers to finish the season. So they
I think it's a
need
big test
Mhm.
for the Patriots too. I mean, the Patriots have
played a cupcake schedule.
accused of being frauds and having a cupcake schedule, which they have. They on their first really real game last week when they're playing the Bills up to par. I know they beat the Bills the first time barely, but the Bills were obviously not the Bills that they are right now, where they're kind of catching fire. And the Patriots look good in the first half, and then they it all went to what. So I think this is another test for them. And if the Patriots go into the playoffs sliding, and they lose couple games and all their momentum's gone, that they're not going to survive very long in the playoffs. They're gonna
Jalen,
lose.
put that graphic back up really quick. Put that one back up. Bless you.
Bless you, Drew.
Bless you.
Thank you. Should have turned my mic.
Jacksonville and Denver.
Of course.
Who would have thought that this could be a matchup for the 1 seed in the AFC? I think only one Jalen Nicholson born and one Sam Trash could have possibly conjured up that matchup in week 16 being that pivotal for the AFC playoff picture. Now, I didn't think Jacksonville was going to be, I think their ceiling this year was going to be 10 wins.
I thought
They had
the
10 wins
Broncos
through
were gonna get
15
9.
weeks. I thought the Broncos were going to win the AFC West. Speaking of, I have some notes. I have some receipts to bring back up. I have a few receipts that are pretty bad, but Denver winning the AFC West is something that I hit on this year. Denver has the best defense in football, far and away. The best defense in football. And
Second
Bo
best.
Nix is starting to actually play with some semblance of being an NFL quarterback again. So, granted, they got a lot of momentum last week against Green Bay after we lost 8 guys in 4 minutes to injury. But I may have been exaggerating there, but that's besides the point. Moral of the story, though, is that Denver caught some wind. They caught some momentum late in that game, in a game they were losing that they should have lost, that they didn't deserve to win through 3 quarters, and put it together to be one of the best teams in the NFC. Now they have another tough matchup against one of the best teams in the AFC. Denver wins this game. Are they the Super Bowl favorite?
I don't think I'm definitively ready to say yes to that because I think the Rams, regardless of what happens tonight, could still be my favorite.
Yeah, I think
unless
the
they get
Rams and
blown
the
out of the
Seahawks are
water.
probably the 2 favorites to win.
Now, it also depends on how Denver looks in that game because Green Bay was doing a good job with them until everyone got hurt. Watson obviously got hurt. It put the offense back in neutral. And I think the shock factor of Micah Parsons getting hurt really hurt the defense too. They got no pressure on Nix. Everyone was just completely rattled after that happened.
Yeah, well, that was happening in the second half of the other game too, but against the Bears the week before. So I think it's more so we just got to be seeing the Packers play a little better in the second half on defense. I think they're getting a little winded. They're being kept on the field for a really long time.
I mean, and that's the blueprint to beat the Packers too. But back to Denver, I mean, they've been winning games by the skin of their teeth all season. This was obviously probably their best win of the year, beating Green Bay. But I don't know. I want to see it again for them. Like, I don't know if I trust Bo Nix to lead them in the playoffs against Josh Allen. That's the problem.
You also got to take into account that the Packers' pass defense is not very good. Just their rush defense is good. Their pass defense has not been very good, and their pass defense has looked better than it is this year because of their pass rush. And now without Micah Parsons, and especially, again, in the second half, we saw it a lot where that was impacted. And how did the Broncos beat the Packers? It was through the air. There's some good pass defenses in the AFC, including the actual best defense in the AFC, the Houston Texans. I'm telling you, the Texans are very dangerous. The Texans are a dangerous football team that I think could make a legitimate Super Bowl run if their offense can put it together. Their defense is unbelievable this year. Unbelievable.
I acknowledge that. Yes. I'm not sold on Houston this season. I mean, it comes down to CJ Stroud. It really comes down to CJ Stroud.
And he's been playing good. He's been playing good the last few games.
Sure. But I haven't seen any real success out of CJ Stroud since his rookie season when he won Rookie of the Year. I can't trust the Houston Texans offense going into a playoff scenario again.
I counter you with Davis Mills was the starting quarterback while they were winning some of these games. This defense is good enough where it doesn't matter. The Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl in 2015 when Peyton Manning was not playing good. Peyton Manning I would argue CJ Stroud is playing at a higher level than Peyton Manning was playing in 2015. The Texans defense is good enough to win them these types of games alone. CJ Stroud just has to do just enough to win them these games, and he is a serviceable quarterback.
I think they have a lot more to do with,
but he's a serviceable enough quarterback where they could go on a run with this type of defense. Defense wins championships at the end of the day.
Well, I'm just going to bring up the point that, as you mentioned, there's so many great defenses in the AFC, and I think that along the lines, you're probably going to run into 2 or 3 of them before you even hit the Super Bowl if you're the Texans. So you need to make sure that your offense is clicking, because if you put the Texans against the Broncos right now, I think that it's going to be – if they played like 6 times, I think the Broncos are winning 4 or 5.
I think the Texans defense holds them more than the Broncos defense does.
My question is, though, if they go up against, say, a Buffalo, who's to say Josh Allen doesn't run and pass all over them? Because we've seen him going absolute God mode the last couple of weeks to carry them in those games. And Houston's offense isn't – I don't know if they're good enough even against a suspect defense like Buffalo to keep up in a shootout. That's my kind of –
The Bills are my actual Super Bowl favorite. The Bills – I think the Bills are going to win out. I think they're going to win their division. I think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Well, that was fun. We'll be looking at some of that stuff tomorrow, possibly with live with Nas if he wants to host his show tomorrow. But we're gonna jump into our next show. Our next topic is the best topic that we obviously wanted to talk about, which is MLB free agency. We've seen some moves over the past week. And obviously, we also got some in the World Baseball Classic, some breaking news that we have Tarik Skubal and now Mason Miller throwing for Team USA. So you might as well just get ready for World War IV, in my opinion. Because there's no way I'm not going to say there's no way, but there's no way in hell that, you're going to beat a rotation with Paul Skeens, Tarik Skubal,
Nolan McLean. Dude, Nolan McLean. I mean, you got look at the numbers on – looking at the numbers on Nolan McLean going in the back half of the season, if he played enough games, Nolan McLean might have messed around and won NL Rookie of the Year. I'm so serious about that. Nolan McLean was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball at post call-up. The Mets pitching in the minor leagues right now with McLean, Sproat, Jonah Tong, a few other guys down there, just nuts. They're nasty. And Nolan McLean is the headliner out of those 4. Munetaka Murakami is going to have a very difficult time going up against Noel McLean going fastball, curveball, sinker, and then having to face Mason Miller 105 paint to the corner 2 at-bats later. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be ridiculous. It is going to be ridiculously hard for these guys to lose. They're going to have to try to lose. The Team USA is going to have to try to lose.
Japan, who's going to have Sasaki, Yamamoto, Otani.
Not shaken by Sasaki. I get Yamamoto. I get Otani. Not shaken by Roki at all. Team USA is they're going to have to try to lose. I find it hard for any of the teams in the Caribbean to come out of it this year and make it to the championship just because of the pool organization. Same with the teams out of South America. But Czech Republic's back. I'm excited to watch those guys again. I don't know if you guys remember 2023. They upset Japan by or nearly upset. I forget what the result of that one was, but they played a tough game against Japan. And they had a dude, like some off-duty electrician was throwing 83 miles an hour with a 73-mile-an-hour changeup and fanning dudes left and right. It was awesome. That game was awesome.
I feel the World Baseball Classic needs to happen at least every year or every 2 years. 3 is too long. It's not the Olympics.
I mean, you could look at it in a different way too, though. The World Cup is every 4 years, which is even further. So,
I mean, I think the Olympics every 4 years too.
That's true.
They lost to Japan, but beat China and Spain. And that what that did was it gave them an automatic spot in the 2026 World Baseball Classic to where they didn't have to requalify, like teams like Spain or Great Britain or Brazil this year is in the World Baseball Classic. They qualified. It's going to be a fun one to watch. If you are not a baseball fan, this is like for those who are really like myself last year, having a hard time getting into hockey, you watch the Four Nations Classic. That was electric hockey.
Real quick.
That gets you into hockey real fast. The World Baseball Classic is similar to that as well. Watch how emotional this game is for teams like Panama, for teams like Nicaragua, for teams like Puerto Rico, for teams like Cuba, for Chinese Taipei, for Japan. Watch these, like when these teams play like home games, the fans are wild. In Miami, watching Cuba versus Puerto Rico, and them actually selling out Lone Depot Park, electric atmosphere. Nothing beats that. Absolutely nothing beats that.
This is like, because when you look at soccer, soccer has all of those, has Brazil, has Argentina, has Colombia, has
every nation in the world plays
pretty
soccer
much every
too.
nation over there in soccer, like literally all the South Americas and basically Africas of the world have soccer, right? And Japan, USA, and China, and Puerto Rico, and we get pushed to the back burners because that's their sport, really. Like if you think about it. Now, when you look at Puerto Rico, now like all the teams, all the countries Sam just said, this is like our World Cup because those teams that he just said, these are the teams that run baseball. We don't run soccer. You know, the USA obviously runs basketball and Europe runs basketball. In baseball, these smaller countries like the DR, the Puerto Ricos, the Cubas of the world, or the Japans, this is their sport. So this is why it means so much to them. So it seems like every country has their one sport that everyone pays attention to and love the most and shows a lot about.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes here. Why not?
How about Brad Keller
free
going to
agency.
the doggone Phillies?
Well, solid move.
Contract.
The Phillies bullpen is going to be outstanding next year. Yoan Duran, you're going to have Brad Keller, you're going to have Jose Alvarado for a full season now. Ryan Kerkering on a revenge tour after blowing the NLDS last year. Matt Strahm was phenomenal in the playoffs last season. I mean, it's going to be real tough going up against the Phillies bullpen if you're any team like this. If you can if you can't get to their bullpen early, you're just cooked. The Phillies might win 100+ games next year.
Yeah, I think this Phillies team, and by the way, thank you for subbing to us, Anthony. We appreciate it. I would say we mainly talk about the big three: football, baseball, basketball. We dabble in other stuff, hockey every once in a while. I'm sure when the World Cup comes around, we'll talk about soccer a little bit. But
we're going to talk about the World Cup.
Back to the Phillies,
we'll be talking college football for sure.
100%. The Phillies were in a tough spot going into this offseason, and I think so far they've navigated it pretty well. They've done a good job. They got Schwarber back, not on a super, super long-term deal. So if he falls off, it's not like they're paying him for 10 years. Like maybe the Pirates would have probably signed him to a longer deal, I would think. They've upped their bullpen. They pretty much did everything they need to do to keep competing this year, and Adolis Garcia is another good acquisition for them as well. So, I mean, watch out for them this year. Like I was a little down on them after they lost to the Dodgers. They were in a tough spot financially, but they've navigated it really well so far.
I like this comment here. Pull them up again. This next one. Who are your guys' top teams that are going to target Sandy and Edward from Miami, and what teams would give Miami the best packages? This is so Boston. I think Boston for both of them definitely can offer the best package in terms of minor league return value. I think if you're looking at teams that have they're deep in pitching in the minor leagues, Boston is the cream of the crop right now. Peyton Tolley, I just talked about this over on Minor League Minute the other day during our show on Monday. We were talking about Tarik Skubal. We were talking about possible Tarik Skubal destinations because it seems like he is the next domino to fall. And we've had Baltimore, Boston, and the Mets as our 3 picks for where we think Tarik Skubal could go. So I think either of those 3 teams, the Mets as well, but Miami's not going to want to trade in division for sure. So I don't know if the Mets are on that. But Baltimore, I could see. Baltimore's got some good hitting prospects as well in Ike Irish as a catcher and outfielder. Ike Irish, he's their number 3 prospect right now. I think he sits inside somewhere in the low one, the lower end of the MLB top 100 right now. Good hitter, solid hitter. And the beauty about Baltimore right now too is the fact that the thing about Baltimore, I get the Dodgers and Cubs, I understand that, but the thing with Baltimore is that there are many position blocks on the big league level too, to where Miami could bring in some ready to go talent for the team right now. And they have that relationship from the past with Trevor Rogers and Kyle Stowers, that 1-for-1 swap that they made a couple of years ago that worked out terrifically for both sides. So I could see, at least for Sandy, being the headliner of a trade, because I know Edward Cabrera would still get you a lot of value back as well, but I think Sandy would be able to get you even more. I could see a trade where Kobe Mayo comes back to Miami, where one of Dylan Beavers or Ike Irish comes back to Miami, and then insert a couple other higher up prospects there. I think if you're the Marlins, you want to look in the realm of possibly bringing in Wellington Aracena. You want to bring in, I'm blanking on this guy's name right now. Hold on. I'm pulling up their top 30 because this guy is really sick too. He was acquired in the Sir Anthony Dominguez trade. Jerron Watts Brown, fireballer. He's going to be ready to go possibly September, beginning 2027. Another guy, Levi Wells, would be nice. But Wellington Aracena was the guy they acquired from the Mets in the Gregory Soto trade. That, I think Baltimore is definitely a spot that you could see one of those or both of those guys maybe in a blockbuster going.
All right, what was you saying, Chris, about what you were saying about MLB free agency?
I don't even remember, man.
I got a little bit of something to talk about. I got something to talk about.
Go ahead.
I think that we've talked about so many of these NL East teams, and we haven't even brought up the one who's had the best offseason, in my opinion, and that's the Atlanta Braves.
Yes,
they've looked really
continue,
good.
Please.
They brought back Ha-Seong Kim on a 1-year deal. They brought in Robert Suarez for the bullpen. They brought in Mike Yastrzemski for some depth and some consistency in the outfield.
Mauricio Dubon. That was a
That's
nice
great
little pickup.
low-key signing, but that's
Noel
the thing
Piance
is
is back.
yeah, and you take that and you get healthier. I think that the Braves are going to win the division next year.
What irks
I
my
think-
nerves is that, and obviously, as you all know, I'm a Cubs guy and things like that. And we have to let not only the best reliever we had last year, who threw around 99 miles per hour, got us out of that jam against Milwaukee at the crib in the playoffs. We couldn't give him a 2-year contract. We had to settle for Phil Maton, who's not a scrub, but for Hobie Milner.
Well, hey, no,
don't diss our boy.
Don't
Hobie
disrespect Hobie
No,
Milner.
no.
Come
Hobie
on,
Milner
Ain't nothing wrong
disrespect
with
will
Hobie.
not be
Put the
tolerated here.
numbers, dude.
Brad
You're
Keller
ungrateful.
has
That's
Jalen, you're talking
He
to
had
the
a
wrong guy. on this
207.
one.
Brad Keller had a 207, throws 99 miles per hour, and you've seen what he did in the playoffs.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Brad Keller's on the other side of 30, and relievers at that
Granted,
age.
Hobie
are kind
Milner
of
is
a
also
crapshoot.
35.
The fact of the matter is, you couldn't give him a 2-year, and he's coming off what arguably probably his best season ever in his career.
I think the thought there is,
Reward him with 2 years.
does he replicate it, though? I mean, like I said, he's on the wrong side of 30. Relievers are kind of like
He's
throwing a
yeah.
dart. Like, you never know whether they're going to replicate their success year to year. Devin Williams had a sub-2 ERA with Milwaukee. He goes over to the Yankees last year, and his ERA is up near 5. Like, it's just hard to replicate having a sub-2 ERA. You have to be really, really damn good to do that year in and year out.
I know you guys got to go, so we got one more comment to talk about.
So my question here, Anthony, is who are you a fan of? Are you a Marlins? Like, are you Marlins specific? Because I don't know if you're in the market for buying a starting pitcher. I think you don't have to give up too much for either Keller or Castillo, but the starting pitching market is very. I'm trying to find the right word to describe it right now. Eccentric, I guess, is the way to put it, because starting pitchers are going for a lot. And I think the benchmark is going to be set by one of Tarek Skubal or Freddie Peralta getting traded in the next 2 months. It's going to get set by that. And I think, honestly, I was listening to John Boyd the other day. Okay, Marlins and Yankees, awesome. 2003 World Series, you couldn't lose that one. But I think, so from the Marlins perspective, you're not buying either of those guys. But for the Yankees, you're going to be in the market for a bigger name, possibly. But I guess for Mitch Keller, Luis Castillo, I don't see, like, you don't have to give up a top 100 for either of those guys, I don't believe. Maybe a major league ready bat. Obviously, you know, like Luis Castillo, you're trading with the Reds, or not the Reds, the Mariners, sorry. And Mitch Keller, you're trading with the Pirates. So a major league ready bat for sure. And then like a relief prospect or two, pitching prospects. That would be a nice return for both of those. But Freddie Peralta is going to set the benchmark. I was listening to John Boy the other day. Because the talent gap between him and Skubal, at least the statistical talent gap between those two, is very marginal. One of them you're going to have to pay almost $20 million. The other you're going to have to pay $8 million. I think Freddie Peralta might end up netting more than Tarek Skubal in a trade, which is why I think the incentive is there for Milwaukee to move him.
I mean, in the
As much as I
Brewers,
hate it.
they're one of those teams. I mean, we've talked about it. My brother and I have. Anthony, full disclosure, most of us are Brewers fans here. Jalen is a Cubs fan. But we've talked about Project 2027 before, is what he calls it, with the Brewers, where they're building towards when Jesus Mate,
Cooper
Luis
Pratt,
Pena.
Luis Pena.
Yeah, a lot of these young
Alex
guys start
Stinson.
replacing the Joey Ortizes or the Caleb Durbins. No disrespect to either one of those guys in the
Not
lineup.
Durbin, but please
But-
get Joey out of my lineup.
All disrespect to Joey Ortiz, none to
Big
Caleb
Derb.
Durbin. But that, these
Derb.
are the guys that are going to be coming in and replacing. And Jacob Mizorowski is going to lead the rotation, they hope, for probably the next 10 years or so. But
Jefferson
I mean,
Carroll,
like-
backup catcher this year.
yeah,
When guys are due for
Easily
big
there.
contracts, like
Mhm.
you know, Freddie is going to be. You know, it's the Brewers. They don't have the money to match some of these big teams. So it's you either trade them or you're going to lose them.
I mean, it's
And
what
if
they did
we-
with Burns, Hader.
That's what they do. Yeah, they always trade guys. You know, maybe a year before they should because
They know we're
wanna
not going to
get some
compete
support.
with the Mets in the free
Right.
agent.
You know, you're not going to compete with a Mets or a Cubs or a Yankees or a Dodgers. You know, it's just not going to happen. So you might as well get, you know, a few pieces for them. And the Brewers, they've been very good at that. I have faith in their front office. So
Well, that was fun. We're going to jump
said.
into. Go ahead.
I'd be lying if I said I was qualified to answer that question. So
Yeah,
I'm just
I'm
going
not
to pass that off to
qualified,
someone
yeah.
else. If anyone else has an opinion on it.
Let me see. What is he saying?
About the Marlins getting screwed out of the lottery. I don't know. Baseball's lottery is so new to
So
where like the
different, too.
rules aren't. It's very different. Yeah, it's there's a lot of screwy stuff with it. I think what the lottery system is doing now is ensuring that teams don't have the decade-long tank anymore. You can't pull a Rockies or what Houston did. This is an even better example. What Houston was doing from about 2008 to 2013, 2014, or what Baltimore did for most of the late 2010s or into the early 2020s. They're making sure teams can't do that anymore. And then the next step is the salary cap system, which, like we talked about before, and I've been saying before, legally speaking, you cannot have a floor without a cap or a cap without a floor. They both need to be there for legalities. So once the cap system is put in place post 2027, because we're not playing baseball in 2027, the writing's on the wall. Let's not ignore the elephant in the room here.
1994 all over again.
Yep. So once that system's put in place, the lottery, this cap system, baseball is going to be far more competitive than we've ever seen it. It's going to be in a great spot. Teams aren't going to be able to spend billions upon billions of dollars 30 years out to pay guys off. I don't know if I can truly answer that the Marlins have been screwed out of the lottery. It's just too new and it's too complicated for me to give you a hard answer to that right now. But I think we got to wrap up though, right, guys?
Yeah.
You guys got to take
Whatever
off.
that is,
Alrighty.
We're gonna have final thoughts here.
I mean, we didn't really touch on it that much, but Packers Bears on Saturday should be absolute cinema. Great game of football. I mean, the first game was a lot of fun, no matter what side you were on. I think the Bears proved to people that they can compete with the upper echelon of teams. I mean, they did what they had to this weekend. They took care of Cleveland. They beat Philly on the road. They hung with Green Bay. And Green Bay's battered up now. I think Chicago takes this one. It's going to be – I said before the season they'd probably split. I think it's going to be a 24-19 type game. Love might throw a pick towards the end, something along those lines, especially if Watson doesn't play. Chicago's just got, I think, more than they do.
Regardless of however this game goes on Saturday, the Packers are still good enough to win the Super Bowl. Even without Micah Parsons, they're still good enough to win the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people are dejected because of that injury, and I am too. I mean, it definitely takes us down a level. I would feel a lot more confident with Micah Parsons, but this is still a team that has the talent to win a Super Bowl. It's just you got to put it together, and it's going to fall on Jordan Love now more than it has. So,
Go ahead, Drew.
Well, I think it's also going to fall on guys like Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness to help kind of pick up the load a little bit. Obviously, Rashawn Gary's been one that's widely been seen as someone who should be doing maybe a little bit more, but he's also been obviously like Parsons, and Parsons has been doing a lot of work. But, I mean, I guess there's that. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, this Brewers trade, sending Isaac Collins to the Royals and Nick Mears. I know it's kind of late news, but I'm hearing hearing the Brewers like Angel Zerpa's profile, and I mean that they may be even trying to test him as like a back of the rotation starter at some point, which it's kind of like the Miz thing where it's a laser beam, but it's not very much in control at this point, but he's still young and there's time to work on that. This is definitely a good sort of project for the Brewers, and they had the depth in the outfield to let a guy like Isaac Collins go, and we didn't know if he was going to produce the same way he did last year. So I'm good with the move.
Go ahead, Sam.
I agree with that. That was gonna be my final thought too. Angel Zerpa is gonna be it. The sinker slider stuff is there. It is there. It's looking great, but all he needs to do now is maybe uptick a little fastball usage, something with a little more arm side run, just something that'll give you more of an out pitch too. We need an out pitch from the having two pitches. Your slider is not your out pitch anymore. All you have is a 2-pitch mix. You don't have one. So maybe getting up to a 4-pitch mix would be nice. And then regardless of where you want to use him too, there's a chance he could be the closer in a couple years. Who knows, right? So this spring is going to be big for Angel Serpa and the Brewers pitching lab. But I'm excited about this move because Isaac Collins, with all due respect to Collins and Mears, Collins came out of nowhere. He's a 28-year-old rookie at the time, and he really fell off in August and September, which is why he didn't get too much PT in the playoffs. And Nick Mears got the Brian Hudson treatment. His arm must be spaghetti.
We got to head out, guys.
See you later.
See you later, Chris, Nolan.
Appreciate
Take
you
care,
guys.
Yeah,
guys.
appreciate
Take care.
you guys. Yep.
Mine is
Why
we got
now?
the
Watch for
Lakers
deer.
tonight. We got the Lakers. LeBron is in town. Hopefully we beat them. And we came close last week. Last time. So thank you, everybody. Well, we've come to the end of the show. Subscribe, like, share, comment, follow our podcast page on other platforms. Links in the description box below. We have a Spotify, Instagram, and a TikTok. And we will be posting real shorts of this show and polls and question boxes. And we did have a guest on here who was very keen with talking to us. So come on and battle and talk with us. So.
Really quick, hockey though. Fix the playoff system. There's no reason why the Minnesota Wild, a Stanley Cup favorite now after the Quinn Hughes trade, should be going on the road to begin the playoffs. There's no reason for that. You need to fix the structure. The 3 best teams in hockey are in one division. Go back to 1 through 8 seeding. We need to see that again. That's ridiculous.
Point system is tough too, but we'll see you tomorrow, possibly live with Nas if he goes on.